Hi, my name is Eugene Stepanov. I'm a senior database solution architect with AWS. Here at AWS, I focus on SQL Server and Postgres. And today, we will take a look at newer feature that we launched on February 14th of this year, and that is RDS support for cross-account and cross-VPC domain joins. Let's take a look at the agenda. First, we'll take a look at the architecture that existed before and after the launch. Then we will take a look at the step-by-step instructions on how to set up the cross VPC cross account domain join, and then we'll jump straight to the demo. Here's the architecture diagram that shows you the situation we're in before the launch of this feature. And scenario is very common, and I discuss this scenario with my customers on a daily basis. And it goes something like this. I looked at RDS. It seems like it might be a great platform to host my SQL Server workload, but I currently have my Active Directory that's been deployed and managed at the corporate data center, and I used Windows integrated authentication for a long time, and I have no intention of giving that up. How do I join my RDS instance to my existing Active Directory domain? And it is very much supported scenario. It's been supported for a long time, but one additional step that it requires a launch of AWS managed Active Directory. It is also a Microsoft Active Directory, but it's AWS managed. You launch it in the VPC where you launch your RDS SQL Server. Then you establish one-way trust between AWS Managed Directory under Directory Services and your corporate AD. You establish one-way trust. Now, you can establish two-way trust, but that be your choice. We're not requiring it. In order for this to work, we require one-way trust. So your AWS managed Active Directory becomes trusting, and your corporate Active Directory becomes trusted. But the main limitation that the Active Directory, the AWS managed Active Directory, has to be deployed in the same VPC as your RDS instance. And it's not a problem for many customers, but for large enterprises that have possibly multiple accounts and their workloads spread across multiple accounts divided by internal orgs, or maybe it's not maybe separate accounts, maybe it's just different VPCs. So if you were in this situation, you would have no choice but to deploy a separate Active Directory in every VPC that you have and establish the one-way trust back to the corporate Active Directory. So this particular diagram shows two accounts, two VPCs, but imagine a case with dozens of accounts or just dozens of VPCs. Then obviously you would have to spin up AWS managed Microsoft AD in every single one of those VPCs. And obviously, from the cost perspective, from the management overhead perspective, this is suboptimal. Now, let's take a look at the diagram that exists now. So now, as I mentioned before, now you can join your RDS instance with Active Directory. It's again would have to be AWS Managed Directory, cross account and cross VPC. You'd still have to be in the same region, but now you can go cross account and cross VPC. So the diagram that we just looked at turns into this. It turns into a setup where you would normally have something like shared VPC, shared account, where you would deploy shared resources. So AWS Managed Active Directory becomes one of those shared resources here. You establish one-way trust with your on-prem Active Directory, and then you can join, essentially, you can join as many SQL servers, RDS instances that are sitting in a whole bunch of different accounts, whole bunch of different VPCs. The limitation exists. It still have to be in the same region, though. This is very important to remember. So let's take a look at the step-by-step instructions. How we're gonna accomplish it today. First, we're gonna share a directory. There is a step, and we will go through it. And that step essentially requires sharing your Active Directory with another account. Then we're gonna create a peering connection. Since we're gonna be talking about two different VPCs, and most of you probably aware already that in order to have a communication between two different VPCs, there are actually multiple ways to achieve that. One of the ways, and this is something we're going to do during our demo today, that is establishing a peering connection. There are other options such as transit gateway, but that's not going to be a focus of this discussion. Then number three, we will configure the route tables. And number four, we're going to configure a security group for this to work. And this is number three and number four, very important steps. Without them, that's not going to work. And then number five, we're going to launch our RDS SQL Server instance, and we're going to join it to AWS Managed Active Directory that's been deployed to another account. So with that, let's jump straight to the demo. Before we begin, let's explore what I have already. So this is my first account, and this is the account where I'm gonna have my shared Microsoft AD, right? So under directory service, here's mycorp3.com, and it's a Microsoft AD of size standard, and it's just been deployed to this account. And on the VPC, let's take a look what I have on the VPC. On the VPC here, we have two VPCs. The reason why I created um, second VPC, well, every account comes with a default VPC. I went ahead and created my other VPC is because I needed the CIDR range that will not intersect with uh, a VPC from another account, right? So if we jump to my second account, and by the way, to tell the difference between first account and the second account, I open second account in Chrome and the first account in Microsoft Edge. All right. So let's see what we have here. Here, as you can see, under directories, this is my second account. I don't have anything. And under RDS, I don't have any instances either. Let's make sure that's the case. Right? There is nothing here. There is nothing under um, directory service. And let's take a look at the VPCs. And we have only one VPC. So if you take a look at the CIDR block right here, I created, let's go back to my first account. I created 192, just to make sure that there's no intersection between these two VPCs, because that's the requirement for the peering connection to work. All right, so let's go ahead and let's start working. And to remind you, the first step is to share your directory with another account. So let's go back to directory service. Here's my mycorp3.com, and under actions, I'm gonna share the directory. I'm gonna share the directory with other AWS accounts, and here's where I need to provide the account ID. All right. I'm gonna copy my account ID. I'm gonna place it here. Click add the account. Send a note. Say hi there. And share. All right. So let's go back to our second account, where that's the account where we're gonna launch the RDS instance, and let's check on the left nav. Let's check the directories shared with me. There are currently nothing. Oh yeah, it appeared. And the shared state, it reads pending acceptance. So essentially, for this to work, we need to accept this request to share. We can do review. Here's our note, hi there. Here's the owner directory ID, the directory that is going to be shared mycorp3.com, and here's the owner account ID. So I am going to accept. And now our directory is shared between two accounts in two different VPCs. All right, that's been done. Now let's go to the second step, and that is let's make a peering connection. Let's go ahead to our first account. Let's go to VPC. And here on the peering connections, I have nothing currently. I have only one peering connection, and that's been deleted. So let's go ahead and let's create peering connection. I'm going to call it my peering connection. VPC requester, it's going to be VPC ID of this VPC. I'm going to do another account, and the account ID is this region, and VPC requester here, we need to pick up a VPC ID of the VPC we're going to be creating peering connection with. So it's this VPC ID. It's this ID. Copy. Go back. And create peering connection. All right, the peering connection request has been successfully created and is being sent to another account, to another VPC. And it's going to work very similar to that of the directory sharing, where we need to initiate the request and then we need to accept the request. The only difference when it comes to the peering connection can be initiated from either side, right? When we were doing the Active Directory sharing, that initiation has to take place on the account in the directory, the shared directory side, essentially. All right. So here, pending acceptance. So let's go back to the second account, peering connections, and we see pending acceptance. So let's go ahead and let's accept the request. Yes, accept. It says here that your VPC peering connection has been established. Great. All right. Now we have active peering connection between two VPCs sitting in two different accounts, and we have Active Directory that's been shared also across two VPCs. All right. The next step to do is to modify our route tables. And obviously, for this to work, we need to modify because now we have two different VPCs with two different CIDR blocks. And let's go ahead and do that. All right, let's go to route tables. And here's my private route table. And that's the route table that associated with the subnets that are hosting my database workloads. All right, so let's go ahead and let's see what we have here. So we're going to need one entry here, and that entry will be for the CIDR block of the VPC that will host our shared Active Directory. So let's go ahead, let's add, and let's go and grab that CIDR block. That's the CIDR block. And let's pick the target as our peering connection. So the one that ends in 23 is our active peering connection. The other one has been deleted. So let's save the routes. And now this route is active. So let's go to the other VPC and let's create the corresponding entry on the other end. So here, let's go to route tables. So this is the route table that is associated with the VPC that will be hosting the shared Active Directory. Let's take a look. Edit route, add route, and here's the CIDR block. And let's again pick our shared connection. All right. All right. So we just completed updating our route tables. And the only really step left before we can go ahead and spin up the RDS instance and join it with this shared Active Directory is to modify our security group. And this is a very important step because it is very poorly documented. So let's go to our security groups. So we're here on the security groups, and the security group we're interested in is this one. It's the security group that's been automatically created by us when you spin up that Active Directory, right? So let's take a look at the inbound rules. And if you look at this, there are a whole bunch of protocols and a whole bunch of ports open for this to work. But what's missing here, and this is essential for this to work, what's missing here is to open up all these protocols and ports for the security group of the other account that will be hosting our RDS instance. All right. So ideally, you would just copy this entire list, but for the source, you would mention the security group of the other account. Now, I'm not going to make you suffer. And what I'm going to do, just for this proof of concept, I'm going to open up all ports. I'm going to open it up for all traffic. Obviously, when you're in production, you don't want to be over permissive. So let's go ahead and let's say all traffic. And for this to work, you need to specify the account name, the account number / and then the ID of the security group. So in my case, it is going to be the account number / the ID of the security group. All right. And I'm opening up to all traffic. Save rules. And now rules have been successfully saved. All right. So now if we look at the inbound rules again, we will see the security group on the other side where the RDS instance will be sitting. We essentially allowing all the traffic to come through. All right, now we completed all the prerequisites, we completed all the steps that are required, and now we can go ahead, jump to another account, and here we can go ahead and try to launch our RDS instance. I'll fly through the screen. I'm gonna do enterprise 2017 dev test. It's gonna be database 1. I'm gonna leave a lot of them to their defaults. Default. We're not gonna do storage scale, auto scaling. Single AZ is fine. Default VPC. We're gonna put it into a private subnet group. Here, the security group, and again, this is very important. We're deploying it to the security group. Here, my private SQL Server security group, and that's the security group that we open up traffic for on the other side. Very, very important. And here, let's enable Microsoft SQL Server Windows authentication. Let's browse the directory. And there's only one directory that's been shared. And let's choose that. And I'm going to disable a bunch of these great features just to make the deployment faster. Create database. All right, that's going to take a few minutes. I'm going to pause and I'm going to come back when it's all done. All right, it's been about 5 minutes. I still see my database 1 being under configuration now. It seems like we're configuring enhanced monitoring. But if we click on that, scroll down, and here in the directory, you see mycorp3.com, which is our shared directory sitting in the other account, another VPC. And the directory status now says joined. So the joining over the account boundary and the VPC boundary worked. All right, that brings us to the end. I hope that was beneficial. I would like to thank every single one of you for finding time to watching this video. And at the end, I would like to wish all of you happy computing from all of us at AWS. Thank you very much.